I'm going to be doing the Gotta Catch 'em All books and Pokemon tags. So because it is still May and I'm doing the Pokemon readathon, I've been trying to find lots of cool Pokemon book tags, and I found this one this morning before I filmed. I thought it looked really cute and really fun, so I decided to do it. The original tag was created by That Bookish Gamer, well, Party on Darth. I'm not sure the account name, so it's Party on Darth now. I'm not sure if it was That Bookish Gamer when the video went out. I will leave a link to the original tag down below, and let's just get right into it. So basically, tag is pretty lenient because there are a lot of different types of Pokemon, and you can choose to do like top 10 or top 6 types of Pokemon and use those for this tag. There are specific questions that go for each type of Pokemon, and then you can answer that question depending on which Pokemon you choose, or you can just do every single type. It really just depends. I will leave all that information down below for the questions. I'm gonna go with my top 6 Pokemon because that's how I've always played the game, and I'm gonna go with top 6 that I had, I think, in Pokemon Leaf Green. I want to say these were like my top 6. It varies throughout my games, obviously, because the Pokemon vary. Okay, so the first Pokemon that I chose for my top 6 is, of course, Charizard. Whenever I get the chance to choose a starter, it's always going to be Charmander. That's what I loved about Pokemon X, is that you can have like the new starter and get an old original starter. So of course I chose Charmander. Since Charizard is a fire type, the question for that one is a fire hot romance. For this one, okay, so I don't really read specifically just like romance books. Like, I read books with romance in them, but I'm not just gonna read like a romance. I feel like I have before. Yeah, I definitely have. For this one, I'm actually going to be going with God's Grave by J. Kristoff. I do talk about Nevernight and God's Grave a lot, but this book has some very, very hot romance. This is an adult high fantasy series, and this is the second book after Nevernight, and the romance is pretty hot in the first book, but I prefer what happens in God's Grave because I love Ashlyn and I love Mia together so much, and it's written so well. Like, you guys think that like J. Kristoff is a man, like it's just gonna be smutty and like because he's a man and it's lesbian romance, but no, he does such a good job. Like, you can tell he really wants to like do well for his readers, and he really cares about making sure that like it's, you know, a good romance. I don't know how to explain it, but definitely God's Grave is a fire hot romance that I love and will always love forever. Of course, like Dark Dawn too, but like God's Grave is where it's at. You're like waiting for it to happen, and finally, it's just so good. The next Pokemon that I always try to have in my party is an electric type Pokemon. So usually I have Pikachu in my party. So we have Electric, a book that kept you buzzing long after finishing. Okay, I have a lot of books that I talk about. You guys know that. I talk about a lot of the same books because I'm obsessed with books. For this one, I have to go with Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Long after I finish this book, obviously, I'm still talking about it. I still tell all my friends about this book. I try to convince as many people as I can to read it. Do they listen? No. But it's such a good book, and I am obsessed with it. I literally, like I've said in past videos, I don't think I can go a day without thinking about something about this book in any way, shape, or form. It's so quotable, like the writing is so beautiful, characters are so memorable and so unique to me, and I love them so much, and I even have bookmarks, obviously, with the Six of Crows cast. So I'm always thinking about this series, and I'm always trying to talk about it and try to hype it up because I love it so much, and I think everybody should read it. Like, it's just so good. And I don't think I can go like if anyone asks me about books, I'll always talk about Six of Crows first. Like, you could hate fantasy, I'll still mention it because I just love it so much. So yeah, I'll always be buzzing about Six of Crows and Cricket Kingdom, of course. Okay, so the next type of Pokemon that I always had to have in my party is a water type Pokemon. So I feel like that's really basic, but when I'm building my top 6 for my Pokemon party, that's what they call your party. Whenever I build it, I have to have fire, electric, water, like a really strong set of like the regular type Pokemon, because those types have a lot of effect on other types of Pokemon. So it's just really good to have like a good mix of Pokemon so that when you go to the Elite Four, you're not like struggling. Okay, so usually I have Lapras in my party for water because she can surf and she's just easy, she's good to use in battle. Water, a flowing, easy to read book. I was going back and forth with a lot of books for this one, but I decided on the Illuminate Files. I don't have the first book with me, it's back home. This book is super easy and it flows really fast, mostly because of how it's written. It's written through like case files, interviews, and like a lot of images. It just makes the reading experience so enjoyable, and it moves really, really quickly. Just really like meaningful. There's a lot of good stuff that happens, and it's such an intense story. but it's like, yeah, easy to read and follow along with. Other books would be The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six. They're written in a way that just makes it easy to read and easy to get through. They're really hard to put down, which is what I love about reading books. Like, I love when they're hard to put down. Those are the books I'm going to go with for water. The next type of Pokemon I try to have in my party is a psychic type, so I usually either have like Alakazam or Delphox. Psychic saw that coming, a predictable plot. For this one, I'm going to be going with Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. So this book reminds me a lot of that Happy Death Day movie. Basically, they're repeating the same day and the same moments over and over again because they have to find out who killed somebody. I think that's what it was, but not, maybe, I don't remember, I think it was like a murder, but they're finding out how somebody died, like in their friend group, so they're stuck together and start living the same day and the same moments over and over again. Once they actually find out like what happens, then they'll go back to their regular lives, or one person ends up dying who is the cause of the death. It's really interesting, it's very intriguing, very different than a lot of like thrillers that I've read. Soon it just became super predictable because obviously you're repeating the same thing over and over, and by that time you can just kind of guess how the story is going to play out, and it just got really repetitive and kind of boring after a while, but it's a pretty short read and it's just really easy to follow and easy to guess what's going to happen, so I thought this was a pretty predictable story. I'm also going to have to say The Woman in the Window by AJ Finn. This book follows a woman who has agoraphobia, so she's pretty much stuck inside her house because she's too scared to go out. She uses her camera to spy on people across the street like her neighbors, and then she befriends one woman who comes over one day, and then she sees this woman get murdered really brutally, and she thinks like she knows what's happening, but she's also like on drugs, and she drinks a lot on those drugs, so she's not really sure what actually happened, and people don't believe her. It's not predictable in some aspects because I went in thinking that the story was going to be like super amazing, and like I had different expectations for how the story was going to play out than how it actually did. How it actually played out kind of disappointed me. So it's not like super predictable, but it's still kind of annoyingly predictable at times. But yeah, thrillers like are hit or miss for me, and I really like a story where you just can't see something coming. So I don't know if that did that to me or not. I don't know. Some thrillers are just super predictable, so it just really depends. So the next type of Pokemon I like to have in my party is like a dragon type Pokemon. This varies between Pokemon. Some Pokemon can have dragon moves, but in my Pokemon Leaf Green game, I did get to have a Dragonite, which was super cool. I feel like that's the only game I've actually gotten to have like a Dratini and like raised into Dragonair and Dragonite. Dragonite's such a cool Pokemon. Actually, I feel like Dragonite's actually considered like a normal type Pokemon, but it's also like a dragon type, so we're just going to use Dragonite and Dragon for this one. Dragon, a book with incredible creatures. This one was super obvious to me. For this one, of course, I have to go with Harry Potter series, just because we have hippogriffs and phoenixes and unicorns and all those other really cool creatures that Harry gets to work with when he's working with Hagrid and their cool classes. So the Harry Potter series, they aren't like super original creatures, but they are written in a way that is really incredible and really exciting and just makes you feel like they can be real for these people, and it's just like, I don't know, really cool to me. So of course I had to go with the Harry Potter series for this one. And then the last type of Pokemon that I always have in my party is a flying type Pokemon. You need a flying type in your party at all times because you have to be able to fly to different locations. And like, while flying aren't always the strongest type of Pokemon, they are still really good to have, and I really love Pidgey, who goes into Pidgeotto and Pidgeot. Pidgeot's probably one of my favorite bird type Pokemon, and like, they're not like the best, like strongest type of Pokemon, but they're still so cool and they're very useful to have in your Pokemon party. So I'm picking ones that I know I would have in my party, so definitely Pidgeot. Flying, a favorite high fantasy book. Obviously, I read a lot of high fantasy. I have a lot of favorite high fantasy series, and this one was really hard for me, but I really wanted to go with like an adult high fantasy. Of course, I love Game of Thrones. There's so many. The Name of the Wind is one of my favorites. The one that I have to go with for this one that I just finished is The Prairie of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I loved this book so much. It's such a unique high fantasy to me, and I just love the characters, I love the names, I love the world building, I loved how interesting and intriguing the story was, and I just love this book. It was kind of confusing at times, kind of hard to get into at some moments, but overall I just fell in love so quickly with this story. It's definitely one of my new favorite high fantasy books, and I just immediately thought of this one when I saw the flying prompt. So yeah, I'm going to go with this one. So those are all the types of Pokemon that I'm going to be using for this video, and I actually really love this tag. I thought it was super cool and super fun, and that is the Gotta Catch 'em All Books and Pokemon tag. That's all I have for you guys today. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a nice little thumbs up. If you want to keep following me on this booktube journey, please subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at AirKAGobble. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you soon with another video. Bye!